Well, here we are. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Before we kick things off, please allow me to just quickly do an acknowledgement of country. We're meeting today on Ngunnawal land. We acknowledge the Ngunnawal people as the traditional custodians of the land upon which the session is going to be taking place. Thank you, everyone, for coming. I know there's a couple of people in person, the online community. I can see people are still joining in. We really want to make the session as dynamic and as interactive as possible. So please feel free to shout, ask your questions. You know, this is really the opportunity for us to really break the taboo that comes with money talk. Because I know, people still have a lot of shame and anxiety and insecurity around money, but the whole point of this conversation is that it is meant to empower, and we're here to co-create pathways to actually cut through the noise, filter out the mess, and see what we can actually do to change financial outcomes. And so,
yes,
just as a...
We ask questions during the talk or wait till the end?
You can. You can ask questions during the talk. You can also wait until the very end. Again, like it's not a lecture. It's meant to be like a casual cafe kind of conversation. We're amongst friends. And so please then, just a couple of housekeeping rules to just remind you to put your devices on silent. And then for the online community to please remember to unmute yourselves unless there's a question you want to ask. Otherwise, then the feed just interrupts with the audio quality of the session. If you need the bathroom, I think everyone who's present here today know where the facilities are. In case you don't, they're just opposite this venue. And then I would like to use this opportunity to introduce the one, the only, the incomparable Trish Gregory, who's a certified financial planner at Fox & Hare, which is a financial planning firm here in Canberra. I've been following Trish's work online for a couple of years now, and she was always one of those people in the back of my mind. I didn't know how, I didn't know where, when this was going to happen, but I knew I wanted to collaborate with her. I know she does a lot of exciting work in the space of financial planning. She's a strong advocate for financial education, financial literacy, helping her clients realize their retirement and their financial goals. And so thank you so much, Trish, for being here as part of the seminar series, which I call Women in Retirement Education, aka Project Wire. I hope you see what I did with that wire. Okay. Anywho, this is the first session where we're actually going to be kicking off the seminar series in discussing the power of financial planning. I'm not going to give too much away. That's what Trish is here for. We have two more sessions coming up, one at the end of November on the 29th of November, which is going to be talking about managing the longevity bonus. We're living longer lives. How do we make sure that our finances live as long as we do? That will be an online session. So registrations are also open via Eventbrite. And then our last session will be in December, on the 6th of December online. And there we're going to be talking about the dynamics of relationships and retirement. What happens if a relationship comes to an end? What happens if there's joint bank accounts and family dynamics change? You know, so often our finances become entangled with our relationships, whether you've purchased property with your partner. If it comes to an end, what do you do? Also just unpacking some of the signals or signs of financial abuse. So we're really trying to tackle the topics that cover a broad spectrum, because in one way or another, we can all share these experiences. So that's just about Project Wire. Please remember then to register on Eventbrite. Registrations are essential because that's how you access the link to join the sessions. Also, the recordings, I will make sure they are available to all the participants in case you want to come back, have a listen, unpack, deep dive into that. And so I would like to hand over to Trish. We're really looking forward to this presentation. I know I am. There's always something new to learn. Most people who know me know that I'm in the financial planning space. This is my oxygen. I eat, breathe, live, sleep, financial planning, but I'm really keen to hear some insights from someone who's in the industry. And that's what I wanted to do with these sessions. I wanted to collaborate with people who work in the financial services industry, people who are passionate about financial education, who are going to share their knowledge and their insights in terms of what is happening in the industry, what are the observations, things that they're seeing, what we can do to build positive financial habits. I know that talking about money isn't always very sexy, but it's so important, especially when it comes from a retirement perspective, because your retirement savings will probably form the largest chunk of your financial portfolio one day. And so what kind of, interventions can we put in place to start making sure that we're doing the right thing? And so, Trish, I will hand over to you, and thank you so much. We look forward to hearing more about the power of financial planning.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh. Thank you very much. Bonkazi, I'll get you to do the, at least start up the PowerPoint. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Welcome. First of all, so you've sorted out all the, where the bathrooms are. Everyone online, you know where your bathrooms are. If it's your house.
You need to tell them.
Absolutely. Please feel free to ask questions throughout. If you'd like to write your questions on the chat, and Bonkazi, if you happen to see them, yell them out, not an issue. Feel free to unmute yourself. Just not when I want to spiel, because I'll get totally distracted. So get started. So everyone, I want to know, I'm going to step to here because you're all looking at this. Who has said, I want to be financially independent in my forward 30s? Has anyone thought that when they were in their 20s? Has anyone said, I want to be financially independent in my 40s? And then have you sort of got to your 40s and you go, actually.
By that you mean you don't need to work?
Don't need to work. That's right. Retirement. I mean, you can call it retirement. You're always going to do something. And then perhaps you get to the point where you're like, actually, I'd just like to retire early, like when I'm 55. And then you get to the point where, oh, actually, I just want to retire before my body breaks down. That's the goal.
Yeah.
So that's a bit of a journey that I went through. I definitely wanted to retire before I was 35. Instead, I had children, stopped being employed completely. So I was relying on my partner's income and some Centrelink. And in that time, the financial independence community online has changed from being like, we're going to race towards financial independence in our 30s, and then we're going to live the most amazing life of retirement. It's turned much more into living a good life now and optimizing what you can so that you can live a good life in the future as well. So we're not saying YOLO, we're not burning all of our bridges now and spending all of our money and then going to have a really sucky retirement or a really sucky, older period. But we want to make sure that we're still living for today. When it's not rice and beans in our 20s and 30s to make sure that our 60s and 70s are great. Right? So before we get started, one of the most important things. Oh, there we go. Me and computers are amazing. I'm a certified financial planner, which means that you get this lovely disclaimer. What I'm talking about today is general advice. I don't know any of you. I'm so happy to meet and learn about each and every one of you after, but I do not know about your personal circumstances, your goals, your objectives, your dreams, your hopes, which means that anything I talk about today, you have to take into consideration your personal objectives. Same with you guys online. I won't meet you after, sorry. Feel free to hit me up on LinkedIn though. I love meeting people who love learning about money. So, Trish, you're going to be trouble. All right. So, no, it's just me pressing the wrong one because I think the arrow is on the even better keyboard, then I won't screw it up. Quality. So let's talk a little bit about me, who I am, why on earth you should listen to me. I won't take too much of that time because I'm not very interesting, despite what Bonkazi says. I am Trish Gregory. I'm a certified financial planner, which basically means I went through a really big exam and did a really big assessment to become what is known as the highest designation for financial planners. I have a Master's of Financial Planning. This year, I was awarded as one of the top 50 most influential financial advisors in Australia, and currently I'm up for an award with my industry body. But that's not the really interesting stuff. The most interesting things for me are what I do. So I'm a mentor to people in this profession in financial planning. I help people who want to become financial planners as well as people who are generally in this industry. I am a strong advocate for women in financial advice and women getting financial advice. The reason why I'm a financial planner and I can see into the future, which means that I know how these small changes that you make now can have a huge impact on your future. I do not know the lotto numbers. I apologize. I am a volunteer at, oh, where are we? Volunteer at Pegasus, which is a not-for-profit writing for the disabled organisation. I'm a dog mama. Where are they? Oh, here we go. I'm a mum of 3 kids, and I am living part of my best life in Canberra right now as a chicken mama, a quail mama. What else have I got? Bees and a million different types of fruit trees right now. So that's the really exciting stuff. I have built my life despite not achieving financial independence, built my life to now be able to hatch chicks. They're 4 weeks old now in my backyard. And to have a dog and be able to have time to volunteer whilst having this sort of job. So I'm living part of the life that I set out to achieve, although it's different than I imagined in my 20s. So I want to ask all of you, online and in person, just think, don't need to answer. Are you living the life that you set out to achieve?
Sorry, Trish. The online community says the slideshow isn't changing for now.
Oh no, they can't see it.
It could be. Michael, are you good at this? Content only.
Sorry, team. No.
Oh, I think I was supposed to share here.
Oh, you were supposed to share on here?
Yeah.
This one. No, this is mine. Are you supposed to share on yours?
For some reason, it's stuck on the slide.
Oh, I'm so sorry, everyone. And I'm showing everyone here the pictures of my really cute
Yeah.
baby chickens that are like 2 days old and you can't see them. And that's unfair.
Yeah.
And we have the tech guys here. I think it's yours should share. No, you're right. Because I can't share. You can, on your one, you should be able to share it. Or we thought we were so good.
What we need to know is that online's better.
We said to the tech guys, we're like, we've got it. It's fun. There's always something with in person and online. Is
It was not changing for the online community.
Share on that computer.
Yeah, so it was changing for everyone here.
How would you join
No,
online?
you need to click share.
Share on the-
Oh, no, it was.
Yeah.
That's how we were seeing
So
it.
everyone in the venue sees what was shared here, but everyone online sees what was on your sees what's on your laptop.
Oh, sorry, guys. I'm just going to leave.
Just try to.
Yeah, maybe there we go.
Let's try that. I don't know. I'm not the tech person. I'm the financial planning person. I'm the one that talks about money all day long. I'm the person that, is it working now? Can anyone give us a thumbs up to say that we're working now? Are we good, Ken? Because I can still see the same thing. I just don't know if you guys can.
Yeah.
They're good now? Cool. So can you see the picture of my 2-day-old chickens before I put them out of the brood? That is the most exciting thing in my life right now. I'm out there every single day in between meetings, checking on them, making sure they're okay. All right, now I've completely lost where I was, which is fine. So that's right. I asked you a question. Are you setting to live out? Are you living the life that you want? Or are you building the life that you want? It is so important to make sure that when you are thinking about your decisions, your day-to-day, that you sometimes take a moment to stop and reflect and think about building that life that you want. Whether you are in your 20s and you have heaps of time, whether in your 50s and you're starting to think, oh God, retirement is kind of starting to get a lot closer, or whether you're really, really close to retirement. There is always time to make change. So I want to know what's some things that are stopping you from starting. If anyone is willing to share, please let me know. Otherwise, I'll just continue on. If anyone wants to type into the chat, what's stopping you from really focusing hard on your financial future as opposed to doing the day-to-day? Does anyone give me some comments?
Not yet, but like maybe I'll be the sacrificial lamb that goes first.
Oh,
I think, you know, you were talking about whether you're building or living the life that you want. And sometimes your, you know, finances don't necessarily reflect the space that you want to be in. And it can just be a bit of a stark reminder, like, you know, I want to get into the property market, but it just seems like this bubble is never going to burst. And I'm so scared I'm going to, you know, be in a situation where I have to rent forever, which is not something I want to do. But, you know, you think about the opportunity cost, like, okay, if I buy, this is a huge financial commitment for a couple of years. I'm going to have to downgrade my lifestyle if, you know, this is something I'm going to commit to. But then at the same time, there's a life that's to be lived, you know, we want to enjoy life, you want to travel, especially after COVID.
Yes.
We were so confined in our little bubbles. So I think the housing crisis is something that terrifies me. Because every now and again I'll lie in bed at night and daydream. I'm like, this is beautiful property, but I can't afford it unless I marry rich, which I'm not planning on doing either. So it's again looking at, this is my financial situation. You know, getting into the property market shouldn't be an unattainable goal, but it just feels like it's slipping further and further away. Adding the fact that now, you know, we're in the cost of living crisis, and trying to keep financially afloat versus meeting your financial goals. That's that scary, that
Yeah.
scary spot.
The absolute fear of the, will I ever get there? I don't know what I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll ever be able to achieve that, if I can ever catch up. And sometimes that those sorts of thoughts can really stop us from starting. They can really make us go, put our head in the sand and go, oh, well, it's all too hard. I'm going to rent forever. I'm going to complain about that, or I'm going to move in with a friend, something like that. But I'm never really going to move forward with this.
There's a comment online that's just said that, you know, a really massive crippling mortgage.
That's a huge one, especially nowadays, especially if, say, you bought at the height of the COVID rise, or you bought a place that you thought you could afford at those lovely, juicy 1.99% mortgage interest rates. And now they're up to 6.5%. That's a huge, huge difference. Yep, I felt that this year as well. I went from 1.99 to 5.5 or so. So yeah, thank you for sharing, Bonkazi, and whoever it was online, thank you for sharing. There is such a challenge with moving forward when you have so much uncertainty and so much unknown. So today what we're going to talk about is some of the things you can do right now to get you moving, to make change, to feel more free, to feel more secure, to feel more grounded, so that you can confidently say, I am working towards these goals, like purchasing a property, like keeping our head above water and paying down the debt enough so that it isn't such a massive struggle. And it might not quite be what you think. So I've got some data for you. You can't get away with financial planning without data. So I'm going to jump into that for a second. Let's talk about two different people. We have Monica and we have Megan.
You have to use it. Okay. Perfect.
Don't worry. Don't worry. I don't have that many slides. This is definitely not death by PowerPoint. So this is Megan. She's our first imaginary person, not real at all. And she has been saving $100 a month from the day she turned 20. Now, I know in the room we look like we're all slightly older than 20.
Just
Very slightly older than 20. I don't know what you guys virtually are looking like. Absolutely
a bit like round circles with them.
Young and youthful circle. So what we have is Megan, first of all. So Megan from age 20 has been saving $100 a month, so about $25 a week. And she's been putting it into an account or an investment that's earning around 5.5%. That's the, what we're getting right now. And she just continues every single month to put $100 away. From the age of 20, when she has disposable income and not much expenses, no mortgage, likely no kids, free to do whatever she wants, all the way up until she's age 50. So she just does that, nice and simple. 30 years of compounding interest. Compounding interest is the eighth wonder of the world. We love it very much. Don't know if any of you have heard that before. It is true. It is magic. What we can see is that these are years, there's dollars. We can see that over 30 years, she mostly puts in the money and there's only a really tiny bit of interest. But then as we start to go over time, we can see that actually the interest or the earnings from the investments have started to be much bigger than the money she's put in. So this is cumulative. And at the end of 30 years, so she's put just $100 in, nothing else. She's got $81,000. Now, $81,000 might seem like an amazing amount of money for some people, and it might seem like absolutely nothing for others. But what I wanted to show you in our first instance is that by working on some habits and saving $100 a month, we can start to see that cumulative effect over time of, I shouldn't be touching that one, I can touch that board. We start to see that cumulative effect of compound interest. Now let's jump through to our second lovely person, which is Monica, also not a real person at all. Beautiful Monica is also saving $100 a month. She's doing the same thing, but she didn't start when she was 20. She started when she was 30. So she started 10 years in. And what we can see is that she doesn't get anywhere close to where Megan has gotten to. She's about half, even though she's done 20 of the 30 years of investing instead of 30 of the 30 years. Now, this is not to say you've got to start when you're 20, right? It's like we said, it's all slightly late for you guys. You're a little bit older than 20, and I imagine online as well. What I'm saying is that you may have heard this saying, and I'm sure you guys can finish it for me. The best time to plant a tree is now.
Today?
Yesterday.
20 years ago.
Oh,
The next best time to plant a tree is now.
so we need these sessions.
Exactly. And so whether you're 20, whether you're 50, whatever your age is, we want to get you starting to make some little changes now. We're going to talk about that in a second. The worst thing you can do, the worst thing you can do is put your head in the sand. But I wanted to show you one other slide, which is what Monica has to do to catch up to Megan, just to keep it nice and simple. So let's say again, Monica wants to put some money away, but she wants to catch up to where Megan's going to be. She wants to have about $83,000 when she's 50. She has to put in double the amount. I'm not sure if any of you have seen these sorts of things before, but delaying costs you so much more because you miss out on the compound interest over time. So all that to say, we can't put our head in the sand. We cannot say, I'll worry about this later. And this is probably really relevant for you guys, not just for yourselves and for you online, but also for the people that you know, your children, your friends, your peers, whether they're younger or older. I cannot tell you the amount of people that I meet in my job where they say, I wish I had have met you when I was 20. I wish I had have seen a financial advisor when I was 20 or 30. I wish that someone had talked to me about this. Well, there's a lot of education out there. It's just about finding what resonates with you. And we want to make change because it's only going to benefit you. So there's times in your life that you cannot make these changes. Like we talked about the cost of living crisis. It's all over the news media. But what I tend to find with a number of my members that I work with on a daily basis is that gets in our head a bit too much, and we don't look at our own numbers, and we don't look at what we're doing and our behaviours to really get us where we want to be. It's really, really easy to put that blanket on there, which is cost of living crisis is the worst. What are we going to do? Can't do anything, so we'll just keep living our life and hope it all works out in the end. We don't run a marathon by getting up one day and running the marathon. I did one recently, which is the first thing why I came into my life. We train, we put in effort, we get better, we go longer distances over time, and eventually we get there. So there are times you can't put money away, but there are also times you can put money away. And when you're young, before you have children, before you take on debt, before you have that big high lifestyle is a really great time. So anyone you know who's young, please try and educate them as much as they don't want to listen. I don't know how many of you listened to the oldies when you were 20 years old. Always listen to them, forever listen to them. The biggest challenge that I see is when you have those expenses, bringing them down, as opposed to never really putting those expenses up. So we do want to make sure that every time you get a pay rise, this is one little tip for you. Every time you get a pay rise, you're expecting to get a pay rise. The psychological trick I want you to play on yourself, and this is a little habit, and we're going to jump into habits in a second. The psychological trick I want you to play on yourselves is when you know a pay rise is coming, you decide what you're going to do with that money before it happens. So you decide how much of that money you're going to invest. You decide how much of that money is going on debt and how much of that pay rise is going on fun, right? Life gets more expensive. Write it down and tell someone. What that means is you've already made a decision before the money gets into your hands, because once that money gets into your hands, it disappears into life. It just disappears into life. And let me tell you, I have seen that happen so much with people who have really great incomes, like incomes of combined $250,000 to $1 million a year coming in. Sure, there's a ton of tax being paid on that, but I think we'd all agree we'd love $500,000 of income coming into our family every year. Like, we'd be okay with paying that tax. But the challenge is the habits that form along the way are the ones that will screw you up. And what I mean by that is the people who earn, let's say, $500,000 a year, they didn't get out of uni being a poor uni student and then go to $500,000 a year. It happened over time. They worked really hard. They got more money over time, and then their lifestyle built up. So they got a nicer car, they went out for a few more dinners, they bought a bigger place, they put a pool in, you know, their kids go to private school, and then all of a sudden you have to live on $500,000 a year and you don't feel like you have space. You don't feel like you have freedom. And I've met way too many people like that, which really tells us that more income is not the answer. It's actually our habits, how we work with the money we have. Yes, there's definitely a lower point where it's an income problem, not an expenses problem. But once you pass that income problem and it's an expenses or a lifestyle problem, we want to make sure that we are starting our habits now. If you're 50 years old and you're like, well, I've been living my life and I seem to do okay, but I'm really frustrated, that's fine. Old dogs can learn new tricks. Promise you. I absolutely promise you, you can learn something new. So when we're talking about habits, when we're thinking about these, you know, $100 a week differences, $100 a month differences, one thing that I like to tell people is let's start with one thing we can change. One habit we can get rid of, one, Spotify premium membership to get rid of. Now, the trick is every time you do that, you then also have to take the money that you saved and automate it to go somewhere smart, whether that's starting to invest really small amounts or putting money away in a separate bank so that you're saving where your eyes can't see it. Or yes.
I'm just looking for some innovative investment strategies. Like I've got a house that apartment that I rent out, and I've got Vanguard. So if you could advise on some innovative investment strategies sometime later, or now, it'd be great.
Yeah, we can definitely have a chat after. So because I'm a financial planner, I can't give any specific investment advice. We can certainly have a chat. One of the things that's really important with that, if we go on a little bit of a tangent, is diversification. So when we're looking at our situation, having Vanguard shares, having investment property is fantastic. But ultimately, what is the goal you're looking for?
Passive income. Woo.
Passive income, baby.
Yeah.
That's right. And in order to have passive income, we need, so the idea is, in order to know how much passive income we need to know how much expenses we want to cover it. Like if you're spending $100,000 a year, that's going to be what, $2.5 million that you'll need to provide a passive income. If you want a $40,000 passive income that's going to last for the rest of your life and you're quite young, that's $1 million in assets to be able to have that money continue to earn and grow and provide you with an income for the future. I definitely meet some people who are actually already financially independent and they don't realize, which is kind of crazy. They're like, we need to keep working. We need to keep working harder. And I'm like, you can stop now anytime you want. Nice position to be in.
It's a good problem.
It's a good problem to have. Sometimes people are paid very well. So let's jump into some habits. Let's talk about tiny little habits, and you can turn this into your own situation, right? You can have much bigger numbers in here. I just thought I'd start with little because you can always just times it. So if we start with $5 a week, at the end of 5 years, if you're putting that money in cash, you'll have $1,500. Now that might not sound like a lot, but would you rather have $1,500 or not?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd rather have $1,500. $10 a week is $3,100, $15 a week, $4,600. You can start to see that really small changes. Every time you manage to take $5 per week off your budget, off your spending, that's an extra $1,500 in 5 years of having that money sitting in your cash account, earning interest. So how many $5 expenses do you think you can cut? Sorry, what was that?
I feel guilty.
Don't feel guilty. Be strategic.
Do something about it.
That's right. Because ideally, what I want for every single person here online is to live an amazing life and spend extravagantly on the things that matter.
Yeah.
Right? The things that are really, really important to you. Cut out everything else. When we think about down here, the $100 per week, can you find $100 per week? That's $30,000 in 5 years. If you really push it, you can find $100 a week. That might be super easy for some of you. It'll be quite hard for others. But that's $30,000 in 5 years. That's a 10% deposit on a $300,000 little unit that can provide you income or that can provide you security so that you actually have your own home. So little habits, they're the things that make the biggest change. I know you talked about like, what else can I do? Sometimes it's really simple. Things do not have to be complicated. I know in the financial planning world, right, typical financial planners have always been like, it's complicated and you can't do these things and we need to manage your money and these complicated investments. It doesn't have to be like that. The biggest thing I talk with my members about is habits, changing their habits so we can find more money, so we can push it towards their goals so they can live a better life. Whether that's their children living a better life, whether that's them, whether that's looking after their parents. So if you combine something like, if we think about someone who can manage to save $100 a week, so they end up with $30,000 after 5 years. When you combine that with the First Home Super Saver Scheme, when you combine that with First Home Owners Grants, you're probably looking at being able to purchase a much larger property. And another tip is for any of the young people listening, learn about house hacking. Has anyone ever heard about house hacking? So it's wonderful when you're young. As we get older, we get more comfortable in our lives and we don't want anyone to be around us really in our homes. But if you're young, house hacking is one of those really powerful tools. You buy a house rather than a tiny apartment that will just suit you, and then you rent it out. Now, yeah, you're going to be a little bit uncomfortable because you'll have people living in your house, but you know, it's what you can do when you're young. So while you are living in your house and paying your mortgage, paying a bit of your mortgage, everyone else in your house is also paying your mortgage. or paying your living expenses or paying something like that. Now that can have a ginormous difference on your future. So you got to start thinking about these hacks, these tweaks. These are the things, as simple as it may sound, these are the things that have the biggest impact. Absolutely biggest impact. $100 per week. Who thinks they can find that in January, from January, acknowledging that it's Christmas, it's about to hit Christmas.
If I don't go to DFO, I could do it.
If you don't go to DFO. Anyone online think they can do that? All right, let's jump through to, feel free, by the way, to ask any questions along the way. Put some questions in the chat if you'd like.
There's a thumbs up online. It can be done.
It can be done.
Will there's a way.
Where there's a will, there's a way.
That's right. And really that is about once you've made that tweak, once you've made that change, that's $100 more you can save. And there's also $100 less that you need to find from your passive income. So if you need like 20,000, you know, if you need $1,000 a week to live, well now because you found that $100, you only need $900 to live. So that means your asset to give you that income needs to be smaller. Did anyone, people get that? Okay, so let's talk about the same people, Megan and Monica. I want to talk about superannuation. Now, retirement planning. So we talked about habits, and habits are really important for all of this planning. But I wanted to talk about small impacts, big differences. So let's go back to Monica. She's doing the right things. She's just doing what she needs to do. She's also starts out at age 20 with a superannuation balance that is $5,000. Okay. She earns $50,000 a year and her employer just puts in the 11% and she's invested in like a regular fund. So by the time Monica hits age 60, this is the contributions and this is the interest. We can see that by the time Monica hits age 60, which is when you can legally access your superannuation if you have met a condition of release, which is retirement, she'll have $1.4 million. Does anyone reckon they'll have $1.4 million when they hit age 60?
I believe in myself.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great amount. And it's because she has had money going in from pretty much the day she started work. Now, the difference might be, what if we make some changes? So Monica has just kept everything the same, done what she needed to do, got a regular return, money's gone in, she hasn't optimized anything. But Megan, when she was 20, she thought about making some small changes. So instead what she's done is she's gone with a fund that charges lower fees and has invested a bit more aggressively, so it's got that extra return over time. And instead of 1.4 million, which is a great amount, she's got $2 million bucks. That's about $500,000 extra. Now, what do you reckon you could do with $500,000 extra at age 60? Would you be happy about that? Would you be sad about that? I'd love it. That's a damn good holiday. That's the mortgage paid off when you're age 60, so you'd be debt free and you'd have $2 million or $1.5 million left after paying that mortgage. And this is what I wanted to show you, not so much about starting when you're 20, but thinking about it now. It's the same thing. It's compound interest. We want to make these decisions when we're young or right now, so that the compounding effect, this lovely line here, you can see the interest is really going up. And the reason for that is you've got time. Who reckons right now their superannuation is doing everything it can for them? Hands up if you think you have optimized it as much as possible. Possibly. I mean, you're at a university, so you probably have uni super.
Yeah.
Not too many options there. to choose from. But certainly, you can have a look and research the ones that you have. There are things where you can look at your risk profile online. Type in risk profile questionnaire. It's really helpful, and figure out how much risk you should take in your lives right now, where you score, to figure out how much risk you should have in your superannuation. Because what is risk? Good, that's right. And the longer you have to invest, like this, from age 20 to age 60, the longer you have to invest, the lower the risk becomes, because the market kind of goes like this, but over time that spreads out and evens out. So an action item for today is, if you have not looked at your superannuation, please do so. There are a number of things you should be looking at. The fees, not just the admin fees, but also the investment fees and any other fees. You can call your superannuation company right now and say, can you tell me where to find all the fees in a document called a product disclosure statement? You want to look at the performance and compare it to other things. So if, for example, you're 20 and you're in a high growth superannuation portfolio, for example, you'd want to compare against other superannuation companies that also have high growth investments. Who's performing over that long term and who's really underperforming? Don't look on a 1 year basis, please. Please don't look on a 1 year basis, because my God, the market is wild. You want to look over a 5 or a 10 year period where things start to smooth out. You also need to think about, and this will be addressed in later things, but who your money's going to go to if something happens. That's a really key one with superannuation. And finally, thinking about optimizing contributions. So as we said here, all Megan is doing is putting $50 extra in a month. So what's that? $12.50 a week out of her pay. You probably wouldn't miss that, especially after we take into account tax. And she's optimized her superannuation, so she's just getting 1% better, and it's $500,000. If you're 40, you still have time to optimize your super. If you're 50, you still have time to optimize your super. If you're 60, you still have time to optimize your super. And this is,
sorry, Trish. So that's a bracket that we can't go, like super guarantee.
you can't go.
Yeah. So what to that?
So like,
For example, like people started earn more money late and would like to contribute more into that super, but at the same time, if you end up paying tax a lot, so what would you?
Absolutely. So there's a couple of options for if you're not 20 and looking to figure out how to make sure you're optimizing your superannuation. There's a number of things you can do. So first of all are the concessional contributions. So the pre-tax contributions. So instead of it being taxed at your tax rate, which might be 32%, 37%, 45%, whatever it is, you're only taxed, that money's only taxed at 15%. So very efficient by putting it into superannuation. Downside is you can't touch it for a while. There's also a scheme at the moment that the government is running, which is called using up your unused concessional contributions. Has anyone heard of that? So what happens is the government really reduced the amount of money we could put into superannuation every single year and claim a tax deduction. It used to be like $100,000 and now it's $27,500, which includes your employer's superannuation guarantee, which I believe for university is 17%. Love that for you guys. Love that for you guys. So what it is,
But
is
not for casuals.
not for casuals. Oh, that's not fair. So what you do is you can go onto the ATO website right now. Go into contributions, unused concessional contributions, like it's somewhere there in the super thing. And what you will be able to see is how many of your contributions for the last 5 years you have used up. So if you want to get extra money into superannuation but you're already close to that this year's cap, you can steal money from previous years and put extra in, and you claim the tax deduction, which is lovely. So you're paying even less tax. So one really important thing is this is the last year to use the 2018-19 year bucket of unused money. So it's a good idea to look at that this year. If you can find any extra money, if you happen to be getting close to retirement and you're not going to need those funds until you hit retirement, it can be a really great tax savings. And then also really efficient way to invest because you're only paying 15% tax within that. It's a really handy one, and I definitely encourage everyone to have a look.
Only if your balance is less than 500,000 or something, or
If your balance is less than 500,000,
I'm not sure about 500,000, but
if-
there's some number, isn't there?
yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah. So it's if your balance is less than $500,000, you can claim. You can, yeah, put that in. Correct. Did someone ask? Someone going to ask a question online?
Yeah, I was going to ask, what was the website again? Sorry, the tax
Oh,
ATO
ATO.
website.
Yeah, the ATO website. So if you go onto my.gov.au, I believe it is, then you can go onto your ATO portal and find the unused concessional contributions.
Okay, great. Thank you.
No worries. Happy to help. So superannuation, I encourage all of you to have a look at yours. If you're in UniSuper and you can't go anywhere else, that's fine. I'm not going to give my opinion on fund because I'm a financial planner and I was about to step into financial planning roles. But have a look at the investments that they have the options for and see whether you're really sitting exactly where you should. All of the superannuation companies, whether you're with UniSuper or someone else, have really great education. They want you all to know more about your retirement. They want you all to take an active role in where your money is invested. They want you to have the best retirement possible. So they'll give you heaps of education to do that. You just need to go and look for it, but it's all there. Guarantee you. I'm pretty sure they also have education people that come, you know, you can go to an education session, those sorts of things.
UniSuper even have podcasts.
They have a podcast. Oh,
Been listening.
is it good?
That's right.
Good education?
Yeah.
Not too many money jokes?
No, there's no money jokes, but it's good. It gives you a sense for what they're doing, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
Familiarises yourself with the language and whatnot. So.
Yeah. And then there's also the side of the sustainability. So within your investments, within your superannuation, you can actually now have a look at sustainability as an investment option. So ESG, you know, environment, sustainability, governance. And if that's your jam, you do not necessarily need to forego performance or pay higher fees to look after that. Any other questions on superannuation? Well, I think we've hit our time. And actually, that was the last slide. So I think I've done really well. I want you all to go forth and live your awesome life. Remember that money is a tool. You all have your own baggage that sits behind money. If money was easy, we would all be millionaires.
Say that again.
Just like we all know, eat less, move more
Equals weight loss.
equals all of us having six packs. I don't know about you, but I do not have a six pack yet, even though I know what I should be doing. It's exactly the same with money. We need to start educating ourselves, not sticking our head in the sand, so that we can really make our financial future better, whether we're 2 years away from retirement, whether we're 40 years away from retirement. And I encourage every single one of you to ask one young person in your life, have you looked at your superannuation, and hound them until they do. You can educate yourselves together because their future will be so much brighter by a few little tweaks when they're young. I hope that's been helpful. Feel free to ask me any other questions.
Thank you so much, Trish. I feel like we really got, well, I'll speak for myself, a lot more than what we bargained for. You've dropped so many like good nuggets,
Truth bombs.
truth bombs,
Yes.
and you took us on that roller coaster of introspection, reflection, and really like starting to think about where you want to be and whether you're putting the measures in place to get there. I love also that you mentioned reaching out to someone you know and having those conversations, because while you were speaking, I feel there's so many older people in my life who never spoke about money. Everything that I know now, I had to navigate on my own. And you look around, these people have houses, businesses, cars, they seem to be financially on top of things. And yet we don't hold these conversations. And I wonder, what is it that is so off-putting when it comes to money? Because you could literally change someone's life, right? Like money can depress you.
Yes.
And it can stress you out, and you'll find yourself digging yourself deeper into the I don't know what to do hole. And so I think that's one of the biggest takeaways for me today, is to be more proactive and to speak to more people, more women, like the younger generation, my nieces, my cousins, and ask them the little things like, are you budgeting? Are you saving? Or do you have your debt under control? What are you using your debt for? And I really want to encourage everyone in today's session to do that, because it could change someone's financial attitude and the way in which they deal with money. I know a lot of people, when I have conversations around money habits, they still say, oh, YOLO. We don't know what tomorrow holds. Like, let's just live in the moment, which is fine. Like you said, money is a resource, but are you balancing out how you're living your life now versus the kind of life you want to live in the future? And that first tip, where that slide where you talked about putting away $5 a week, which seems like very little, but at the end of the day, it will make a huge impact. So there are some key tips that you've brought forward, like the unused super concession. Because every time I file my tax returns, I just sit there like, I hate it here. But that's a really good, takeaway. Because all of these little things, they do compound. Bad habits compound, but also, positive habits compound. And so there's really like quite a few things that you've mentioned that I'm absolutely going to take away. Yeah, thank you.
So is this PowerPoint slides will be sharing, is that right?
I can ask Trish to share them if that's fine, but the session's also recorded and I'll make it available for anyone who wants to go back and listen, or maybe even forward it to someone else, because that's the whole point of these sessions is let's empower one another. Let's hold these conversations. I hope we've all learned something new today.
Well, I'm planning to share this with my, niece and nephew. I think it's very important for people to younger age.
Yes, so I want to make this available to everyone to share it and to also encourage. There's going to be more fabulous sessions coming up. The next one is dedicated specifically to managing super and life during retirement and what you need to do now to start thinking about what your life will look like at retirement. So please, please, please register Eventbrite. You guys have had the exquisite delight of being part of the pilot session. And so I think now you get a sample of what Project Wire Women in Retirement Education is all about. And so I'll hand over to the floor and also the online community. I see there's a couple of questions coming in and I'm happy to facilitate that. So one person has asked, how do you actually claim your unused super concessions?
Oh, great question. Very practical. So all you have to do is know that you have extra available contributions, and then you just put more money in. So it's via salary sacrifice is one way to do it. So you can set that up with your employer. The other way is you can put money in from your after-tax income and then claim that as a deduction on your tax return. So it has the same tax effect in the sense that, let's say you put $2,000 into your superannuation and then claim it as a tax deduction, that $2,000 will only end up being taxed 15% instead of 35 or whatever, 45% instead. So it's a tax thing if you pay with after-tax dollars, or you can salary sacrifice with your employer if you want to do it on an ongoing basis. The key there is making sure that you don't use up all of your contributions and go over, because you get a lovely letter from the ATO if you do that.
I have a question. Do we have the link for the next 2 sessions?
Yes, so it's the exact same. Maybe I'll come
Okay,
to the front
because
so the
I didn't get that in my email.
So the page where you went to register for this session has the entire seminar series. So you can just basically click on whichever series you're interested in joining in. It's exactly the same place, but I'm happy to forward it. And I will ask BGL to send out other event reminders. I hope BGL's ask those reminders. And does anyone else have any thoughts, questions, comments, contributions?
How affordable is financial planner in Australia? Because
Really good question. So there's a couple of different levels. Financial advice is not something that I would call particularly affordable, because sadly there is a lot of regulation and red tape on top of financial advice. It is a very highly regulated profession. So you can go anywhere from about $2,500 of an upfront all the way up to sort of your $20,000, $30,000, $50,000.
somebody asked $10,000.
Yeah, exactly. So it also depends on how complex your situation is. So if you have self-managed super funds and trusts, and business structures and those sorts of things, like, it's going to cost you more because there's a lot more to unravel. For someone who might have, say, one superannuation fund, wanting to think about their insurance and start investing, for example, that should be a lot less. Sometimes it might be you need to find someone who's going to be right for you. So as an example, as a financial advisor of Fox and Hare, we work exclusively with millennials and Gen Z. We don't actually work with Gen X or boomers. So we really work with that younger demographic, whereas you have other financial advisors who will work exclusively with that sort of retirees and pre-retiree stage, where they're really wanting to help you move into retirement. So oftentimes it's about finding the right fit for you. And I think most financial advisors really want you to do your research, understand who you're coming to, and shop around. There is quite a wide variety of fees. Yeah, that's helpful.
Thank you.
Cool. Any other questions? All good?
Okay, well,
One last thing. I think I actually forgot to talk about this. So you're going to talk about it, but I just wanted to say, when I was talking about habits, I would really love for you all, sometimes the best thing to do is get physical cash or write in a physical book. So if you're really struggling to figure out what you're spending, grab a notebook and have a look at, write down what you're spending on a daily basis. It can be quite eye-opening to figure out, oh my God, I'm actually spending on this and this and this. And these $10 expenses add up to a lot of money over time. But you come here and talk about this.
yeah. So if you're in Canberra joining us during the online session, everyone gets a complimentary financial planner little booklet. So you'll be able to track your expenses. And really the intention here again is to keep the momentum going. We don't want this to be a once-off initiative where we talk about it, you feel inspired, life happens, you forget about it and you move on. Because as Trish had mentioned earlier, right, it's not about delaying, but also being strategic. And so, shifting paradigms from I don't know what to do, or I'd really rather not think about this, to being proactive about your finances. And as much as it may seem like a bit of a dark thing to say, at the end of the day, no one is coming to save you. And so these interventions are meant to empower and to help you start putting the measures in place to help you reach whatever your little goals are. Because, we don't become, wealthy by having more money. We become wealthy by knowing how to handle that money, right? Because if you can't handle $1 million, if you don't know how to handle, like $100. So it's those little things we can start doing now. I'm also conscious of the time, but in order to wrap things up, please allow me to thank Trish for giving up her time, sharing her knowledge, and for making this such an easy conversation that we can all engage in. Sometimes when we have these financial conversations and workshops, they can be so high tech and go over your head. And so you've really made this inclusive for everybody. We're all at different journeys, and the spectrum can be so broad, but you somehow managed to bring it to a level that we can all understand, all process, and that there's takeaways for all of us. I would love to keep this conversation going, but unfortunately, we're out of time. Online community, thank you so much for joining us. Hopefully, wherever you are, it's not about changing the world. It's just about setting your little corner of the world on fire, doing what you can to keep these conversations going, empowering those around you, and to remind you to register for the rest of the Women in Retirement Education series. Like I mentioned, on the 29th of November, there's one that's going to be talking about managing the longevity bonus. We all want to live long, but we have to make sure that our finances live as long as we do. And then in early December, the 6th of December, there will be an online workshop on relationships and retirement. How do we navigate that space when sometimes our finances become entangled with the people we're in partnership with? And what do you do if, you know, there's signs of financial abuse, etc.? So there's going to be more experts from the industry coming to share their knowledge. On that note, thank you everyone for joining us. And if you're in person, there's some light refreshments that are already available. So feel free to engage, ask Trish some questions. She's not going to run away. Easier to ask things one-on-one. I know people can be shy, especially when it comes to money, right? So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Have a fantastic week, and I will see you again online on the 29th of November for our next session.
Bye.
Thank you.
I bet it's nasty.